Okay, so today's Bhagavad Gita verse is 2.14. Would you like to repeat after me? So you can unmute yourself. I'll speak one line and then you can repeat. Matra sparshastu kaunteya
मातृस्पर्शतु कौन्तेय
shitoshna sukh dukkhada
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखदः
agamapayano nityas
आगमाय पयोनित्यस्
tam titikshasva bharata
तां शिक्ष्य सर्वपराता
tam stitikshasva bharata.
तां तितिक्ष्वर भारत.
Yes. Mithila, you did not repeat. Uh, any issue with like pronunciation? You need some help? It's okay. There is no judgment. Basically, this class is to learn. So if you will speak after me, I will be able to help you in pronouncing in a better way, and you will be able to learn. So it will also make you happy. Would you like to try? Okay. And the one whose name is iPhone, can you tell me your name? It's showing iPhone to me. So, what is your name, Beta? Unmute and speak.
Here.
Sorry, Heer.
Yeah.
Heer. Okay, Heer. Okay. Mithila, Heer and Avyukt. I'm just repeating it again. You all can repeat after me and unmute yourself. Okay. Matra sparshastu kaunteya.
मातृस्पर्शतु कौन्तेय
अब देखो अब मैं आपको आर यू गाइस कंफर्टेबल विद हिंदी और ओनली इंग्लिश
English.
okay so okay I'll
Yeah.
speak in English
I
so
don't speak Hindi.
now shitoshna I will pronounce it as shitoshna I will not pronounce it as sitosna because s has apostrophe so when s has apostrophe it becomes it is not sir anymore it is sh like sh we consider it when so in this is a so when we are writing in Devanagari language I'm just trying to help you read so whenever you open a Bhagavad Gita any verse you will be also able to read it on your own if I will tell you these nuances of pronunciation and if you open Bhagavad Gita last I think almost close to last pages you will find some guidance how to read words in Devanagari these same nuances will be explained in that also like s having apostrophe becomes sh not s anymore okay shitoshna sukh dukh dah okay so when we have visarg two dots behind a particular alphabet in Hindi it becomes h okay maybe here can check later. Okay, I can share the page number if you wish to. Hmm? Okay. Now this is A. So A has a dash. So when the straight line comes above any particular alphabet, it becomes A. Okay. Agama payano nityas. I'm not calling it as agama payano nityas. It is A when A is having that line on the top of it. Okay. Agama payano nityas. Please repeat.
आगमाय पयोनित्यस्
Tamte teksasva bharata.
तितिक्ष्व भारत.
Bharata, right? So I'm not saying it Bharata, I'm saying it Bharata. So because A has that line again. Okay. So no worries, just relax. I'm just telling you slowly, slowly in each class, you will keep reading the verses so you will be able to grab it more. Okay. So going ahead, what does this verse means? Okay. So I'm going to read. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course of time are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Okay, so what are they going to talk about? They are talking about that non-permanent appearance. So what is non-permanent here? The different phases of life, right? They are referring non-permanent to different phases of life like happiness, distress, joy, sorrow. So this is something which is not permanent because they keep changing in nature, right? Just like we have summer season, then we have winter season, we have spring, autumn, rainy. It's not something permanent. It keeps changing. So something which keeps on changing is non-permanent. So what they are saying is here, non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance means appearance and disappearance of what? Happiness and distress in due course, in particular time, are like, it is compared to what? Appearance and disappearance of winter and summer. So in clear terms, what they are trying to say is, just like seasons keep on changing, same way, with time, things also change in life. Sometimes there are happy moments, sometimes there are distressful moments. Okay, so they arise from sense perception, how we perceive them. O scion of Bharata, and one must. So, since it is non permanent, it is not permanent in nature, so we must learn to tolerate without being disturbed. So, why they are asking us to tolerate? Now, you must be thinking, Mataji, how happiness can be tolerated? Happiness is something to be enjoyed. Distress is something we tolerate, right? Sorrow or sadness, moment of moroseness are something we tolerate, but how happiness are to be tolerated? So, and we see in today's world that people are not able to balance their emotions. When there are happy times, they just take a glass of champagne and they just start enjoying party time, right? So, happiness, so extreme craziness and celebrations. And the times of distress, then extreme state of depression and sadness. So, this verse talks about equilibrium in life, I mean balance in life. Whether it's happiness or distress, always be steady and stable. Yes, one should be happy in happiness, one can be sad in the state of sadness, but what about nature of mind? Right, mind goes unsteady, no? We drawn so much into that particular emotion that we are not able to fix our mind on the supreme. We are not able to fix ourselves on the goal of life. So that is what they are saying, that one has to try to have a steady mind. Let's read more. So we are reading the purport given by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, what he explains. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearance and disappearance of happiness and sadness. So they are going to give some examples here to understand this, that in the discharge of duty, when we are fulfilling some duties in our life, so how happiness and distress are to be tolerated. Okay. So first, according to Vedic injunction, one has to take bath early in the morning, even in the month of Magh, January, February. So in India, January, February are the very colder times. Even December also, after 25th December, in India, it's really cold. So, in Bhagavad Gita, it is given in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that just like, taking bath, being clean, keeping body clean is one's responsibility, it's one's duty, right? So, even in the colder times, we have to take bath. So, whether the time is of summer or winter, we have to be clean. So, one have to tolerate that coldness, that winter, right? Otherwise, what some people think, they think like, okay, today I can skip bathing, right? They are feeling lazy, it's too cold, they give excuses. So duties should not be neglected, the right things should not be neglected, even if there is summer season, winter season, happiness or distress. So happiness and distress should not become reason for neglecting our duties. We should tolerate the difficulties and discharge our duties properly. This is what message is given in this verse. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by religious principles. So cleanliness is almost cleanliness is next to godliness. Even cleanliness is godliness. So one should be clean. So this is a dharma. So one should not hesitate to take bath even if it is cold season or it is summer season. That is what they are saying, following your dharma, following your duty despite the time of happiness or distress is something which is emphasized here, right? Remembering the Lord in the times of distress or in the times of happiness is something emphasized. Then more examples are given. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences, right? So, when there is extremely hot or extremely cold, a mother has to cook for her kids, right? Yes, someone who is a cook has to cook. Why? Because it's a duty to feed the children, to feed the husband, or to feed the family members, right? A mother, or someone who is cooking, cannot just say that today it's too hot, I'm not going to go near the kitchen in the stove to cook, right? One has to tolerate. So toleration is what they are saying, tolerating the moments of happiness or distress, and discharging one's duty steadily, regularly, with consistency, right? So even if there is some inconvenience and you are not giving up on your duties, this is what is stated in this verse. Okay. Similarly, more examples are given. Similarly, to fight is a religious principle of Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. So, why this verse is given here? Because Arjun was in the battlefield, and on the opposite side, he is having his very close relatives. But they were adharmic, they were doing wrong things to the citizens, they were being unfair. So Krishna says fight because they are unfair, right? But Arjun was having weakness in heart, so he was refusing to fight. So Krishna is telling Arjun that you are a Kshatriya. So a duty of Kshatriya is to fight and stand for something which is not fair, which is unjust. And a Kshatriya should protect his citizens. If a Kshatriya king is not fighting due to weakness of heart, then what will happen? The person who is adharmic, who is not abiding by principles, that person will take over and citizens will be affected. So it is his duty to stand. So, to take a stand and protect his citizens, to protect the dharma, to protect the religious principles, right? So here, despite having a friend, relative, or enemy, a Kshatriya has to fulfill his prescribed duty. And Kshatriya has this duty, a king has this duty to protect his citizens and to make state fair, to stand by religious principles, which are just and fair as per the scriptures, Vedic injunctions, right? So he was not following that, his prescribed duty, and was succumbing to weakness of heart. That is why Arjun gave this verse that this happiness and distress is up, non-permanent. It will appear or disappear, but one must discharge his duties. So one has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. Because by knowledge and devotion, only one can liberate himself from the clutches of Maya. So, to liberate ourselves from this material world and come to the platform of realization, one must try to engage in prescribed duties which are given. Okay. Here, I would want you to pay attention. Okay. Thanks. So here, two names are given to Arjun. Two different names of address given to Arjun are significant. Like Skyan of Bharata, we read that in the verse. Sorry, in the translation. To address him as, and Konteya was also addressed. So Konteya means someone who is signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side. Since he was a Kunti Putra, that's why he was called as Konteya. And to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side, because his fathers belonged to that dynasty in which Bharat was born, and he was a great king. He, okay, not Bharat of Lord Ram's brother, he is not that one. So from both the sides, he is coming from great heritage. Now you just notice here, Krishna is trying to motivate Arjun to fulfill his Kshatriya duty, and he is using those terms to remind him that you are coming from a great lineage of Kshatriyas, so you must fight, you must fulfill your duty of protecting your citizens. So not only he is explaining him his duty, that he should fight despite the non-permanent nature of happiness or distress, but he is using such terms to address Arjun so that he can be reminded of his lineage also, that he is coming from such great family lineage, that he is having that Kshatriya blood. He should have that spirit of standing up for his citizens and for religious principles. So you just notice the wonderful communication skills of Lord Krishna here, right? So Krishna could have, used some other word. He could have simply called him Arjuna in the verse, but he uses the words which will make him also think at the same time that you are coming from great lineage, my dear, Kaunteya and Bharata, So, from both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of discharge of duty. So, since he is coming from great heritage, great lineage, so he is having responsibility. Arjun is having responsibility on his shoulder to discharge his duties properly. So, he cannot avoid fighting at any cost. Okay, so with this, we have covered this verse. You can try memorizing this verse. So today, I will talk a bit about Srila Prabhupada. I will introduce you who is Srila Prabhupada, whose purports we are reading. How many of you have heard the name of Srila Prabhupada? Just raise your hand. And how many of you know deeply about him? Okay. So we will share something about him deeply. As I shared with you, I like to read about saints. Some people like to read about celebrities, sports persons, stars. So, how reading about saint is, different from reading about, celebrities or stars. So, when we read about some celebrities, stars, or sports person, definitely they are doing great job in their life. They have achieved something. They are inspiring to some extent to achieve some goals. Like, for example, a particular singer may be inspiring or maybe good because of his voice, and we like to listen to his music. But will it help us at the end of our life? If some person who likes a particular singer or a particular footballer, particular boxer, and he constantly follows that particular celebrity or sports personality in his news, in his life, getting to know what all he does, it may inspire him to some extent, like that boxer follows this restaurant. He likes food from this place. He has been to this school. He has been to this particular thing. But when that person who is following that, who is a fan of that celebrity or sports person, when that person is about to die, will that sports person help the person who is dying? Will that sport person will get to know, I mean, in any way will it help him, the fan? No, right? So does that make any sense to follow somebody who is not going to help us when we will leave our body? So ultimate truth of life is actually that we are living this life till the time we have breath in our body, soul in our body, but one day we have to leave this body. So what are we doing then? What is going to happen after the afterlife, once we leave this body? That is what is important matter. That is a matter of thinking. That is a matter of consideration. So just like a fan is helpless at the time of his death, whosoever celebrity he followed, right? He is not going to get help from that celebrity. That celebrity is not going to provide him a good life after his death, or that celebrity is not going to ensure that this particular soul who will leave this body will get something great, right? So same way, we are actually not doing anything significant by following them. So who should be the goal of life? Who should be someone we should consider inspiring and learning from? They are the saintly people, the saintly personalities. So we are going to read about one of the saintly personality today, Srila Prabhupada, whose life will actually make us think that what should be the goal of life, and how this connecting with this saintly personality, how listening about this saintly personality can actually help us at the end of our life. Hmm? So saintly people are so great, even if you hear about them, you are going closer to God. You are going closer to self realization. But if you hear about some celebrity or sports person, it's not going to help, right? We definitely like their actions or material successes, but at the end of life they're not going to help. But when you hear about saintly people, it will not only change your consciousness to positive, but it will also help you at the end of your life, that you are going to think about them. You are going to think about Lord and actions of the celebrity, yeah, the saintly people, and it is going to change your consciousness to become a saintly person. You will also become saintly. You will also become kind-hearted and compassionate. The more you will try to, learn from saintly personality, hear about their glories, try to imbibe their qualities in yourself. So today we are going to talk about Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, he appeared in a family of a pure Gaudiya Vaishnav in 1896 in Calcutta. So today is, right now the year is 2025. So the person we are talking about, he appeared, I think it's like probably 200 years ago. So this person who appeared 200 years ago is actually a person who has impacted a lot of lives in a wonderful way, who has actually brought a lot of people to a right path. So his childhood name when he was born, the parents lovingly gave him name Abhay. So his name was Abhay Charan. So Srila Prabhupada was a name which was given to him later. You will get to know. But for now, I will just say Abhay Charan. So Abhay Charan was born in a Vaishnav family. Now, who is a Vaishnav? Gaudiya Vaishnav. A Vaishnav is someone who worships Krishna and Radharani, who always chant the name of Radharani and Krishna, who always pray to Krishna and Radharani, who always keep Krishna and Radharani in the center for everything. So that person is a Vaishnav. So 200 years ago, this person was born in such family, and it was in Calcutta. Calcutta is in India. So from childhood, when he was born, he's a saintly personality. When he was born, he was showing the symptoms of pure devotion. We will get to know how. So when he was 5 years old, he organized Jagannath Rath Yatra. He organized a Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath, a festival. So he was very much eager to do, right? We do not see children eager to do some Jagannath Rath Yatra on a chariot. They like to have a toy car or a doll and, play with them. But this was something not usual or ordinary. He was having desire to have, Jagannath Rath Yatra, where he is pulling the chariot of Jagannath ji on the chariot, and he was celebrating it, and he was just 5 years old, right? So he was showing those symptoms from the childhood. Then he authentically decorated small cart to resemble Lord's colossal chariot in Puri. So you can see. So Puri is basically in Odisha, where Jagannath Puri is. Jagannath ji resides there with Subhadra Maiya and Baldeva. And here in the picture you can see this is little Abhay Charan, and he's having the Rath, the chariot, and all his friends are surrounding him, and they are having this yatra, and he himself decorated this whole chariot, this cart. Besides leading the kirtan party, he did kirtan also. He organized cooking and prasad distribution also. So, the people from neighborhood, they were so happy and enthusiastic after seeing this thing, organizing Jagannath Rath Yatra. So they were also helping him. Some people were bringing kachori, puri from their homes, and all of them were distributing. So this way. So during his childhood, he did few more things like Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charan. He began worshipping the small deities. He was worshipping, deities of Radha and Krishna. So his parents bought very small, lovely deities of Radha Krishna. So he was worshipping them, right? So usually children play with dolls, teddy bears. But here Abhay is showing a sign of devotion from the very beginning by worshipping lordships. This is a rare interest in children. We need to push children to worship lords, but here he's doing it from childhood, and he is showing that interest. So he quickly mastered the traditional beats and ragas on mridanga, harmonium. He learned in childhood playing the instruments so that he can do kirtan, bhajan, and please the Lord. Mridanga is that long dhol which you must have seen in the temple, and harmonium also you must have seen. It somewhat resembles piano, but not exactly piano. It has white and black keys. So, with pure devotion, Srila Prabhupada Abhay Charan would sing sweet devotional bhajans to please Radha Govind Dev Ji. Okay, and then he completes his education, he goes to college and all, and he starts working, as a manager in one of the laboratories of his father's friend. And at the age of 26, he met his eternal spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who started Gaudiya Mutt. So, mutt are also small places where, people sit, chant, and they talk about Krishna and their glories. So, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is also one of the glorious saintly personality who is spiritual master guru of Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charan. So Abhay Charan got initiated, So being initiated means you're getting a mentor who have accepted you as his disciple, and he has taken your responsibility of guiding you on the path of devotion to Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada, who is Abhay Charan, he got his guide, his guru, his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. At the age of 26, he met him, and he was really inspired after meeting him. Just like, we have some teachers in school who inspire us, they guide us. So, in the same way, when he meets this person, he was happy and he felt like that this person can guide me. So just like in school, to study a particular subject like mathematics or science or English, you need a teacher. You can't study on its own. So just think of a scriptural knowledge. How can we gain scriptural knowledge on our own until and unless we don't have any guide or spiritual master? So, in spiritual life, accepting a spiritual master is very important because that person shows us the path of devotion to attain God, to attain Krishna, self realization source. So, here, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur played that role by guiding Abhay. Okay, so he, also gave a divine command to Srila Prabhupada, go to the West and spread Krishna consciousness in English language. Like you must go to the foreign country, West. So India is East and West is the, America, US, all these countries. So go to the West and share about Krishna with everybody. Because in the West, seldom people know about Krishna. Nobody knows about Krishna, right? We rarely get to see anybody knowing or talking about Krishna. But in India, we easily find people knowing about Krishna, talking about Ram, right? Talking about Narsingh Dev. But in West, nobody knows. So he commanded that you must go and share about Krishna with others. So Krishna, attaining Krishna, understanding that attaining Krishna's lotus feet is a goal of life. This is something very rare for people to know or understand in West. So, out of compassion, his spiritual master has given this command to Abhay that you must go to the West and share about Krishna with others. Okay. So, in full faith, Srila Prabhupada embraced the order. He took that order, that divine command, very seriously. And after realizing the teachings of his guru, he started writing and distributing book or Back to God magazine, English magazine on the science of Krishna consciousness. So Abhay Charan, who is Srila Prabhupada, he started sharing about Krishna by writing, right? So he started writing the magazine. So the magazine he wrote, it is known as Back to Godhead. So you understand, Back to Godhead. We are not going back to God. We are going to other places. So we must focus on going back to God. So he's sharing about it with others through his writings, because writing is one of the ways to reach out people and it's impactful, right? I mean, if I tell you something, you may forget, but if it is written somewhere, you can refer to it again and again. So he started writing magazine on Krishna consciousness. Although begun in 1944, so he started this in 1944, right? So Back to Godhead now circulates worldwide in over 50 languages. So now it is in 50 different languages in different countries. Okay. 1944. So it's not even 100 years. Right now it's 2025. So I think it's almost 75 years or something. Okay. So taking sannyas. So he then in 1959, he took retirement from the family life because once the children are grown up, people are just free, with their responsibility. They have brought up the children, their education is almost done. So in 1959, he has decided to dedicate himself to the goal of their life. That is what we mean here by taking sannyas. So he took shelter of Vrindavan. He went to Vrindavan Dham ki jai. So there he rented a bhajan kutir in Radha Damodar temple. So in Vrindavan, you will till date find that there is a Radha Damodar temple, and there is a particular room where Srila Prabhupada used to, it's a very small room. It's not even this huge where I'm sitting. So it's a very small room where Srila Prabhupada would sit, write, pray and chant. And he would, he has utensils. He will cook prasad for himself and others there. And from the window of the Radha Damodar temple, we can see, samadhi of other, Vaishnavas, great Vaishnavas in the lineage of Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Jeev Goswami. It might be new names for you, but you can just for now understand that these are some saintly personalities, really great saintly personality. So to share a message of a saintly person, we need blessings. We just did that Mangla Charan in the beginning of the class. So same way, Sri Jeev Goswami, Rup Goswami are also saintly personalities. And, Srila Prabhupada wanted to take their blessing. So he was staying near their samadhi. Samadhi is basically a cremated ground where they were buried. Those saints were buried. So Abhay Charan Prabhupada ji spent 6 years. He prayed, he performed kirtan, bhajan. He tried to take inspiration and blessings so that he can start this thing in the West. He shared, with others. So in order to share with others this knowledge, we need prayers, right? It is not something I just read some novel and I'm just telling you about it, or I read some news and I'm just talking to my friends. We need prayers so that through us, others can also internalize or understand this knowledge. Okay, so writing books. At this time, he also started writing, books. He started translating Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is basically 18 volume book set in which whole life of Krishna and his pure devotees is summarized. So how Krishna is great, how his devotees are great, what is so special about them. So Srila Prabhupada was writing about it all so that everyone can get to know in West, because it's in Hindi or Sanskrit. So when he started writing in English, he can share it with others in US, in America or in other countries, Western countries, so that they can also get to know about Krishna, because they don't know about Krishna. And someone who doesn't know about Krishna is, is should be given that thing, should be given the mercy, should be given the compassion. That person should know about Krishna. Okay. So coming to the West, so when he was 70 years old, 7070, he was having his kartals, which we play in the temple, and he was having one full crate full of Bhagavatam set. And he set off for America and he went through a boat, a cruise. Its name was Jalduta. So in 1965, he went. So today is 2025. So it's like 60 years back this happened. 60 years, so recent, no? So during this 40-day sea, it was a 40-day sea journey, and there were a lot of heavy storms. He also got heart attack twice on that ship. So you can see how saintly people are, so kind to share about the goal of life with everybody, that they are even ready to take up all the hardships. They don't hesitate. So then, for 2 consecutive nights, he had heart attacks, which almost killed him. But by prayers and mercy of Lord, he was saved. And on the third night, Lord Krishna appeared in his dream, and Lord himself was pulling the ship to the America so that he can go and share the message with others. And he was protecting him. And you know where he landed? You'll be so happy to know. When he came, he first time landed to Boston, where we are living. Okay, so it's so wonderful that we are so lucky that we are living in such a place where Srila Prabhupada just landed for the first time to spread Krishna consciousness. And we recently had a 3-day festival of his 60th anniversary of arrival in the US. Avyuk shared with all of us about it. So, how many of you were part of it? Can you raise your hands? Okay, Sia was part of it. I can see that. Who else? Satyabhama was also part of it, I guess. Even I was part of it. Avyukt was also part of it. Yeah. Nice, nice to know. So, I can share these are some pictures and glimpses of that festival. Lot of people, a lot of saintly personality, Vaishnavs, Brahmacharis, they came from all over the world to attend this festival. We were so fortunate we get to meet the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. People, the Vaishnavs, the devotees who had themselves have met Srila Prabhupada, those people were present, those devotees were present in this 3 day festival. So in the pictures you can see, and in the fifth picture some kirtan is going on. So these are kirtaniyas, but in rest of the pictures you can see most of the personalities are aged. So they have met Srila Prabhupada, Becharan, when he was so young, and he was when they were so young, and they got initiated. They accepted Srila Prabhupada as their guru, the spiritual master, that you guide us to reach Krishna. So this was the whole festival about. And the festival had multiple things. We went to the boat as well. We had Kirtan Day as well. We had offerings from different disciples of Srila Prabhupada who met Srila Prabhupada, and they were sharing the memories, the funny memories they were having with Srila Prabhupada. Like one of the memories which I remember I heard was this person you can see in the black sweater. So his name, the devotee's name is Shrutakirti. Shrutakirti Prabhuji. So Shrutakirti Prabhuji was sharing that how he learned to make paratha from Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada would teach that first you roll the chapati, then you add some ghee, some namak, mirch or aloo, and then you again, roll it, and then you put the ghee, and then again you put it on, tawa. Before putting it on a flat, stick flat pan, you need to put some ghee, then you put the roti again. So he was sharing his sweet, sweet, beautiful memories, of interaction with Srila Prabhupada. How fortunate we are to be part of this thing. So it's now 6. So I think today's class I can end here. And whenever we will meet again, I will share more with you about Srila Prabhupada. And his life is full of sweetness and inspiration. So hope I could inspire you today by sharing his story. And thank you so much for joining the class today. Thanks a lot. Anybody who has any questions or wants to share anything, please go ahead and then we can end the class. You can also share your highlights from today's class if you wish to. Anyone who would like to share the highlights from today's class, here can share. And those who are off with the camera, please switch on your camera. Sia, Vishnu, I did not even see you. Let me just know you. Hi, Sia. Nice to see you. Wonderful. And Vishnu, nice to see you. You all are at home looking so pretty and sweet. Why are you keeping cameras off? Camera conscious? Okay. So, who would like to share the realization? Yes, nobody would like to share any highlights. Did you understand, or I was too fast in the class? Please give me feedback so that I can also learn. Okay, Sia, please go ahead. Happy to hear you.
It was actually really good. I came kind of late, so I only heard about the Srila Prabhupada part, not and a little bit of the Arjun part.
It's okay. So you heard from the beginning when I was sharing about his life from childhood?
Yeah, I heard a little bit of you explaining about Krishna, communication, calling Arjun those two names.
Oh, okay. You joined at that time. Why he used those two names for calling Arjun? No worries. I would request everyone from next time to please join on time. I waited for 10 minutes for everybody, and then I thought, okay, if children are not joining, I can start with the ones who have joined, because those who have joined, they have given their time, and I'm very grateful to them. So from next time, I would request everyone to join on time. Who else would like to share? Please raise your hand. Yes. Nobody would like to share? Vishnu? Okay, Avyukt.
Mataji, I really liked how you explained Srila Prabhupada's childhood. Like he had his original name, which I never knew about. So I am grateful that you told me about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Avyukt. Thank you for sharing what you liked. Okay, Mithila Satyabhama. Vishnu, say something. We must talk, otherwise it will be boring. You must share. It's okay, even if you share one line. I'm pretty okay with that. I'm not expecting you to share a lot of deep insights or something, but just share something. It gives encouragement to me also, to share. Who would like to share?
Mataji, I would like to share.
Yes, Democracy Mataji, you can share.
Hare Krishna to you and Hare Krishna to all the beautiful kids out there. I joined late. I'm sorry, Mataji. I joined around 5:30. I really enjoyed the distinction you made between how it's important to follow saintly people and why it's beneficial for us to follow them rather than following anyone else. Even the other people, other celebrities, as you said, they're very good and accomplished in their own field. So we should always appreciate that. But at the same time, what can we learn, and what are we learning from them, and what the lessons that we learn, how useful are they to us during our life and at the end of the life? So that point that you made, you explained it so very nicely, and it made so much sense to me. So I really appreciate that point. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, I think with this we can end the class because it's 6:06, and from next time, everyone, please join on time, and please keep sharing, please keep talking. Okay, maybe you will take some time in opening up at sharing, but just don't worry. I'm like your friend. Okay, don't worry at all. And this is not some academic class. Please be comfortable. And you are here to learn about someone who can inspire you. So just open your heart. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.